The Kalen DeBoer teams, as we'll call them, they can make big moves in the transfer portal.
You are Locked On College Football, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your number one source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in the greatest sport on planet Earth. Realignment, coaching carousel, the portal, especially the portal this time of year. We've always got you covered. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions do indeed apply. Miami could make a big splash. Don't sleep on the Hurricanes. I'll tell you why later in the show. And why I disagree with something suggested about the University of Arizona. But let's start with Alabama and Washington, the Kalen DeBoer teams, as it were. So DeBoer leaves Washington. He goes to Alabama. He takes some guys with him. Jedd Fisch goes from Arizona up to Washington. He takes some guys with him. And that is the crux of the point I want to make here. Let's start with Alabama. In the winter transfer portal window, do you know how many scholarship players left Alabama to go to power schools around the country? 24. Do you know how many transfers they've added? 8. Now, Alabama has got the second-rated high school recruiting class in the 2024 cycle, but can you count on true freshmen the same way that you can count on transfers? Do you know what true freshmen can do the same way you know what transfers can do? The answer, of course, is no. And that fundamentally, that gap in personnel is why Alabama could go out and be aggressive. And if you're, just think about this. All we have heard with the transfer portal, which opens on Tuesday, the 16th of April here in 2024, which makes me feel old. Makes me feel very, very old. I don't look it, but I feel it on the inside. Anyway, if you're another team trying to keep your players around, you might want to ask Iowa fans perhaps how this tends to go. Do you want Alabama to be on the prowl? Boy, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want that Scarlet A. I don't care who the head coach is. And Kalen DeBoer is very well respected. And now he's had time to kind of sink his teeth into the job of being the Crimson Tide's head coach and establish himself on the trail, in the portal, building relationships. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we've been doing in spring football. All that sort of stuff has just been kind of fomenting for the last several months. And suddenly Kalen DeBoer isn't new. Kalen DeBoer is, at some level, established, at least on the trail. Because you look at the way that Alabama has recruited, you look at the way they've brought in players, at least some guys from Washington, but also a couple other guys from around the country who are going to make an impact. I think guys like Damani Jackson, the corner transfer from USC. Alabama having the roster capability to go and be aggressive in the transfer portal should scare the crap out of any college football team in the country. Michigan's going to have a really good defense in 2024. Vegas certainly thinks so. They've got their win total posted at 9.5. I think that's a little bit high. I think Michigan's probably closer to 9-3 than 11-1 come 2024. But Keon Sabb was a good player. You know where he went in the portal? Down to Alabama. So if a good player off the national championship team, which just lost a bunch of guys to the NFL. And Alabama, of course, has sent players on to the NFL. And Washington, who I'll get to in a moment, has also sent a lot of players to the NFL. If Michigan guys aren't safe, is anybody safe? Is anybody safe? All those players were leaving Alabama, and the roster felt like a place where it just hadn't been in a while, where you're like, wait, Alabama's got questions? Alabama needs to have answers? Well, guess what? This may surprise you. They came up with a lot of answers. They could still come up with a couple more. Yeah, I'd be on the lookout for Alabama in the transfer portal because they've got that sort of need. They've got that sort of desire. DeBoer has done most of his best recruiting work in the transfer portal, remember. A lot of the guys who he got to pop up at Washington, he inherited. Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Roma Dunze, they were already there. He brought in Michael Penix, brought in just a couple other guys, and boom, implemented his own scheme, and Washington goes to the national championship game for the first time ever. Well, when you have that sort of pedigree, that sort of moxie recruiting transfer portal players, as I said, that should absolutely scare the daylights out of anybody who is considering, well, what's my team going to do? Are they going to lose this guy? Are they going to lose that guy? Alabama could be on the prowl. Let's talk about the place that Kalen DeBoer left behind. The University of Washington, who added, by my account, 9 players from the University of Arizona. And there's a non-zero number of those players who are going to, make an impact. Guys like Jonah Coleman at running back or Ephesians Prysock at corner. But would they go back to the well on that front? Does Arizona feel like a place that's generating a lot of momentum? Perhaps not. But Washington, that's a power program up there. That's a Big Ten member, by the way, that just showed the ability, when they are right, to play for a national championship, to play at that sort of level, to be at Texas's level. Does Texas scare you? Does Texas scare you in the transfer portal? Of course, it's Texas. They've got money, they've got brand, they've got a coach that just rebuilt them to a college football playoff team a year ago. But Washington, having just shown what they can do when at full strength, and Jedd Fisch, knowing what he's capable of as a head coach, Washington's got all sorts of roster needs. Here's the position that I would look for at the Huskies: offensive line. Offensive line is probably the biggest question up in Montlake right now. And if you're a team that looks like you've got too many offensive linemen, I'd watch out for the Huskies. Or if you've even got a starting caliber lineman. And this is kind of the focal point of, what all the attention prior to the transfer portal actually opening is really being brought, is what it is all about. Is there is an expectation amongst people far more informed and connected than myself that there are going to be a bevy of transfer players that are high-end starters or starting caliber players who you're expecting, whoever you're a fan of. We don't know what these names are going to be, but they're expecting, whoever they are, to see names who you already have penciled in your mind, maybe Sharpied inside your head. This guy's starting for my team this fall. Those sorts of guys could be on the move. And Washington has got a glaring needed offensive line. They sent 2 guys to the NFL. They lost 2 guys to the portal. That's something that has to be addressed. Jedd Fisch wants to have a balanced offense. He likes to run it. He likes to have play action. He'll do some drop back. And like every other good college football team, you need to have a good offensive line. And he's fully aware of that. So I would watch for Washington to be aggressive going after offensive linemen. Frankly, any position. There are a lot of positions of need up there. They don't need a quarterback per se, because you've got Will Rogers. They brought in a former Arizona 4-star quarterback recruit. They've got options at quarterback, at least in the short term with Will Rogers there. But offensive line, they lost NFL caliber guys on the defensive line. They lost an NFL caliber guy at linebacker. There could be a lot of positions there. I'd of course look at Arizona because of the connections to Jedd Fisch. I'll talk about that more later in the show. But any team out there that's got a starting caliber player and who Washington feels like they can go get, I think they're going to try and get. Miami could make perhaps the biggest transfer portal splash move, the first one of this cycle. Let's talk about LinkedIn Jobs. It's as good a time as any. You know why? Because when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. That's why 2.5 million small businesses, that's million small businesses, use LinkedIn for hiring. 2.5 million, big number. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So Damien Martinez has been a subject on this particular show recently because he put his name in the transfer portal. It was surprising to many. It was a huge blow to Oregon State and really the Pac-12 writ large because it was the material example, the very real gut punch. Forget the other sports that are getting gutted in the transfer portal in Corvallis right now, like women's basketball. But that was the one where you went, wow, this guy said he was all in. This guy was committed. He was lining up all the NIL money Oregon State could seemingly offer one particular player, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So Damien Martinez is a big-time running back. He's been one of the best in the Pac-12 over the last couple of seasons, RIP. He's in the transfer portal looking for other options. Now, he is a native of the state of Texas. Would I be surprised to see him go there? No. I'll get to Texas in a moment. But Miami is a great fit. Miami is a great fit. And I read over at CBS Sports that, options that could fit Martinez's needs would include, Michigan State should, of course, be mentioned in there because you've got the connection with Brian Lindgren, the OC, Jonathan Smith, the head coach. They also have one of the former Oregon State offensive linemen over there in East Lansing nowadays. That's, of course, the logical number one option. But, is it the only one? No. Ole Miss had Quinshon Judkins depart in the transfer portal. He's at Ohio State now, along with Travion Henderson. That's the best backfield, by the way, in all of college football, in case you did not know. So Ole Miss being an option certainly can't be ruled out, but I think Miami is a perfect fit for two reasons. Number one, the reports came out from a bevy of reporters that the offer in the NIL department from Oregon State to Damien Martinez was in the $400,000 range. Now, John Canzano wrote about, how that was kind of not being misconstrued, but how it was getting played. And Martinez said, they offered this or it wasn't fully paid. It's all just, kind of flying around and such. But if there is a hard number of you're going to get $400,000 or at least very well be in that range, and you're going to hit the transfer portal and take the PR hit and go back on your word and go elsewhere, I'm going to go out on a limb, not really, and say NIL is a calculation. And who has one of the best, most well-stocked NIL collectives in the country? That would be the University of Miami. So if that is where Martinez's head is at, which is where plenty of college athletes are at mentally when they enter the transfer portal, I want a better NIL opportunity. I want to be able to go out and get more money. You can do that now, whether you like it or not. Miami is a fit in that sense. Here's the second reason it's a fit. Mario Cristobal's offensive identity is running the football. He wants a power back. Mario Cristobal wants to build a championship program in the mold of Michigan. That is what he looks at as a former offensive lineman and says, this is how we win football games. We are going to dominate you in the trenches. We are going to be more physical. We're going to pound the rock and have a complementary passing game, and we're going to play some great defense. I think that's what he would like a championship team at Miami to look like. And he's got a much better quarterback, I think, in Cam Ward than Tyler Van Dyke, who is up to Wisconsin in the quarterback carousel. But Miami with Damien Martinez at running back, let me tell you something. As a longtime aficionado of the Pac-12, I have watched my fair share of Cam Ward and Damien Martinez. Those two guys in the same backfield, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better backfield in the entire ACC. I don't know. I literally do not know if you could find one. If Will Shipley had come back to Clemson this year with Cade Klubnik, That'd be a runner. I still might lead in Cam Ward and Damien Martinez. Power running, great back, who can be a workhorse, who can be a feature back, and who's got a good offensive line with a capable quarterback. These are the highest expectations Miami has had since Mario Cristobal took over. He's 12-13 in his first 2 seasons there. Their win total, according to our friends at FanDuel, is 9.5. 9.5. This would be a splash move because he's one of the biggest names, maybe the biggest singular name, at least west of the Mississippi, who's in the transfer portal right now. That could all change come Tuesday, of course, if all this craziness really does ensue. But Martinez to Miami, that would be a perfect fit. Now, it is not the only option. And another place where I could see Damien Martinez going is a school in the state of Texas because he is from there. But remember, Texas, who certainly have got talented backs on the roster, just lost Jonathan Brooks to the NFL, a very talented player himself. If you brought Damien Martinez into that room, he is no less than back 1B. That's a two-headed monster with they've got plenty of talent everywhere you look. You know who all here's why I mentioned Texas and why I just can't shake this thought, right? You got the in-state connection with Martinez, having been from there originally when he was recruited to Oregon State. But the other factor is Silas Bolden, Damien Martinez's teammate of the last 2 years at Oregon State. He transferred to Texas this offseason as well. So if the Longhorns decide that they want Martinez on their team, well, Bolden might be able to give him a selling point and say, hey, I've been here for some spring practices, man. You should feel the energy. You should see this place. You should come be a part of Texas. And do you think the Longhorns would be able to come up with some NIL money? I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. So Miami's the perfect fit. And that'd be a big splash move. But don't sleep on Texas or Texas A&M or anybody else in that state who's playing power football in 2024. That's clearly where Martinez wants to go. And I think he either ends up at a Texas school or Miami. Let me know your thoughts in the YouTube comments. I know you often do, but I encourage you to do it anyway. Here's another running back whose name you should be aware of. Omarion Hampton. Hampton last year at North Carolina with Drake May as his quarterback went for 1,500 yards. That's a lot of yards. Now, Hampton, as I record this show, has not entered the transfer portal. Could there be an incentive for him to do so? 100%. And that incentive is that as he looks to the NFL, is it better to be on a winning team or a not winning team? Because if you're not on a winning team, you have to put up such crazy numbers. Same principles apply to the Heisman Trophy here, of course. Jaden Daniels just put up insane numbers. He wasn't on a playoff team, but the numbers were too good to ignore. But until the Pac-12 title game, Bo Nix was probably going to win the Heisman because he was on the winning team. So if you're Omarion Hampton, you're looking around saying, well, we're going from Drake May to probably Max Johnson as the quarterback here. I might be able to test the waters and find another home. Ole Miss comes to mind. Miami also comes to mind. Or any other big-time program that's seeking a running back. Hampton, supremely talented guy. Go find out how many 1,500-yard seasons there were from college football running backs last year. I'll give you a hint. It's a very short list. So, would he enter the portal? I mean, that's up to him. Transfer portal is going to be open. The NCAA said, well, the courts told the NCAA, yeah, you can't actually impose limits on the portal. You can't tell people they're not allowed to transfer. You have to allow them to do whatever they want all the time. So that's what we have right now and why this portal window is expected to be so very crazy. And we're going to have a lot of coverage of it right here on Locked On College Football. But I'd watch for that name. If Hampton goes into the portal, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. Maybe like Drake May, he's loyal to the brand. Says, you know what? I'm a Tar Heel. I want to be a Tar Heel when I forego my eligibility or graduate and go to the NFL draft. That could be all good and fine. But if he gets the sense like I do that Carolina is a pullback team without Drake May there, he could seek greener pastures. Would Tetairoa McMillan and Noah Fifita do that? That question was posed. I have a very strong opinion. I have a strong opinion on FanDuel too. To be fair, I have a strong opinion on most things. It's just a matter of whether or not I choose to voice it. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's full season is in full swing, and you want to go over to FanDuel because that is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Whether you bet on Scotty Scheffler or Jordan Spieth, if you put the $5 down, boom, $150 in bonus bets if you're a new customer. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, make your first bet an automatic win. You don't find a lot of those. You can find them at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Could Arizona be in trouble? Yes, but not in the way that I saw suggested. So, I was perusing the interwebs and came across a piece that posed the question as to whether Noah Fifita and Tetairoa McMillan would leave Arizona. Now, if you are talking about a former Pac-12 school with stars at a non-traditional power, I was just talking about one of those. His name is Damien Martinez. He's going to be officially in the transfer portal when it opens on Tuesday. So, has it happened before? Yes. Do I think Noah Fifita and Tetairoa McMillan would leave Arizona? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Here's why. McMillan and Fifita have not just branded themselves as the faces of Arizona football as Jedd Fisch departed to take the Washington coaching job. They have sunk their teeth in completely in the idea that Arizona can be a place where you win and we're going to do what others think we can't. Now, I think Arizona, because of the portal departures that they've already had and could continue to have, it'll get tougher. It's just going to be hard. I don't think Arizona's a playoff team in 2024. If Jedd Fisch stays, this is the irony or just context of whatever you want to call it of the Jedd Fisch move from Arizona up to Washington. In the short term, it is the worst move for him as a head coach. In the long term, it's probably better. But there is no question, absolutely no question, that had he stayed at Arizona and kept everybody around, that team would have been better than what Washington would have been if they'd hired, Brent Brennan, for instance, or Lance Leipold from Kansas, or whoever they would have gotten had Fisch turned them down in 2024. That Arizona team was going to be stacked. But still, you have these foundational pieces. And I look at Fifita and McMillan, who were just sensational last year. Fifita was the offensive freshman of the year. McMillan had over 1,400 yards receiving. These guys are embodying Arizona football. But, they've made public posts and I think they've got their own podcast, or they've been on a podcast talking about, Jedd Fisch leaving and everything like that. I think that if they'd wanted to leave, they would have done it already. What calculus has changed for them? Because when you think about other starters who are going to enter the transfer portal, or current projected starters who are going to enter the transfer portal when it opens, those guys are not so foundational, at least that's my suspicion, that they have no possibility of being taken over or losing playing time. Noah Fifita is QB1 and wide receiver 1 is T-Mac. That's unquestionable. But if they'd wanted to leave, the opportunity to go with Jedd Fisch to Washington was there. Because Will Rogers had committed to Kalen DeBoer and company when DeBoer was still up there. DeBoer leaves and Rogers, backs off, but then recommits, of course, once Fisch got there. If Jedd Fisch had been bringing in Noah Fifita, Will Rogers would have hit the portal, found a home somewhere else. There is no doubt in my mind that Jedd Fisch, of course, asked T-Mac and Fifita to go. They said no. Why did they say no? What changed that would make them alter their viewpoint on Arizona is the best place for us to be. And this is the spot where we want to play college football in 2024 and try and boost our NFL draft stock. What changed between now and then? Did Washington's NIL collective get a massive influx of dollars to get those guys? Because they could go up there and start. I'd start Noah Fifita over Will Rogers, and T-Mac would be their number one receiver, along with Jeremiah Hunter, a transfer from Cal, who's a really nice player on offense. And if that's your number two, you got something there. And if you had an offense that looked something like Noah Fifita with T-Mac and Jeremiah Hunter and Jonah Coleman in the backfield, you got something. You got a team that, I don't know if you're a conference contender across the board, but certainly you got a chance to go over that 7.5 win total, according to our friends at FanDuel. But I don't think that for those guys, enough can change. If they had wanted to chase NIL dollars, I would bet my bottom dollar that they were available already, that they had offers, that they had interest, that they had intrigue for bigger programs that have bigger NIL collectives than what Arizona has been able to put together in Tucson, that have bigger brands, that play in a bigger conference. And yeah, Damien Martinez did a flip-flop there. But Martinez is also playing a Mountain West schedule this year. 7 games against the Mountain West for Oregon State. Arizona doesn't have that problem. Arizona's in the Big 12. Arizona's got a pretty tough schedule. They've got a pretty tough schedule. And they've lost a bunch of key starters. It's why their win total 8.5. I'd go under right there. I think they're 7-5, 8-4 sort of team. I think 9-3 is probably their ceiling. But I think they'd go 6-6 before they'd go 9-3. I don't think it's going to be easy in year one for Brent Brennan and company as they go to the Big 12. So I just read that question and asked myself, why would they leave now? What could possibly change? Someone else had to be interested. There were rumors, and then they got shot down and everything that, Kalen DeBoer in Alabama were interested in going after Noah Fifita, that there were other schools. And look, that stuff had questionable validity at times. So make of it what you will. But I have an impossibly hard time believing that those two playing in Arizona when Jed Fish left, you don't think anybody called them? You don't think anybody was interested? Of course they were. Of course they were. I think they want to be Arizona guys, and I don't think they will go anywhere. The same cannot be said for Bill Norton, though, the defensive tackle. He was a nose guard a year ago. Good football player. Big dude, right? Power 4, nose tackle. You're going to be a big dude. So Bill Norton announced that he's going into the transfer portal, and that's kind of where the questions for Arizona came into play, or how they, I think, kind of got started as well. They had a backup offensive tackle, and then Bill Norton go into the portal. Are there going to be more departures? Could be. I don't think Fifita and McMillan are going to be two of them. And if you keep those guys around, I think they can recruit others, and Arizona could survive the transfer portal storm here. But there are 2 teams to watch for Bill Norton, a defensive tackle, who, again, plug-and-play sort of starter. Number 1, Washington. Jed Fish connection. And does Washington's roster have defensive tackle spots available for, starting caliber, all-conference caliber guy? Yeah, they do. They've got room for starting caliber guys at the power level at most spots. Most spots. That's just the reality when Washington lost 21 to 22 starters from last year's national championship team. And they've brought in quite a few, right? Guys like Prysock at corner, or Jonah Coleman at running back, Jeremiah Hunter at receiver, Will Rogers at quarterback. They're cobbling together a pretty solid team. But at a position like interior defensive lineman, yeah, you could watch for that. Here's the other one I'd watch for. And I don't know that contact has been made or interest is there. I just know that Norton's in the portal and Auburn's looking for defensive linemen. Hugh Freeze talked about that openly, that they feel like going into the spring transfer portal window, they want to add defensive linemen. Well, there's a defensive lineman for you. And if you're looking at the Big 12 and saying, nah, this isn't good enough for me, you probably feel like you have an offer or the ability to get an offer from a Big 10 or SEC school. So I'd watch for that particular move. But as for Fifita and McMillan, I think those guys are both 10 toes down. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.